Okay, so the last constructive perspective exercise is a 2-point perspective, but this time we're referencing a plan and an elevation to get some geometry dimension information. So let's go ahead and start at step 2. So I'm just going to pull this down and then follow along step by step. So option drag to copy that down. Now, this is my plan information here, and I have my cone of vision as well as my station point. The station point is in line with the object. So now I'm going to go ahead and rotate that object. You can mess around with how much you would like to rotate it, but for me, I'm going to rotate it on 45. Oh, I went in the wrong direction here. I'm going to undo that. I'm going to do a negative 45. There we go. And then if you note in step 4, we add the picture plane at that front corner. So go ahead and do that. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this over so I don't have to redraw it. Something like that. Now the picture plane, where the picture plane intersects the plan, that is a point right here in which things in the perspective drawing are the true height based on the elevation. And you'll see what I mean here in a moment. So now we're going to finish setting up our scaffolding. I'm going to come right down here. And in order to set up the 2 vanishing points, because it's a 2-point perspective, we need to go ahead and offset the principal faces from the station point. So you'll see what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and ungroup this first. You see how over here in my object properties, it's 5 curves that are grouped. So I'm going to ungroup it. Now it's just 5 curves. I'm going to select the footprint. It says it's a closed curve, so I'm going to have to explode that. Now it's 4 open curves. I'm going to take that, copy that down to my station point. And then I'm going to take that and change it to my vanishing point layer. And then I'm going to use the fillet command to locate the intersection point between these vanishing point lines and my picture plane to get the vanishing points. So fillet, I'm going to make sure my radius is set to 0. Very satisfying command. And then I will go ahead, now that I have my 2 vanishing points, I can even mark them on there with points. Make sure I change their layer. And then I can pull that down to a horizon line. So I'm going to copy my picture plane down and turn it into a horizon line. And then this nicely aligns in a tidy way. And I can go ahead and copy these down as well with the copy command. So now I'm kind of set up here pretty good. One thing I still need to do is pull down my true height line and then set up my elevation. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So the true height line is here at that front corner. I'm going to drag it down past my horizon line. and make sure it's orthogonal to the horizon line. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab my elevation and copy it. Copy the ground line of the elevation to the horizon line of my perspective drawing. And then remember that the horizon line always goes through the eye of the viewer. So I'm going to move this elevation down about 5 feet. And we're going to say that that would be the approximate eye level of the camera. Next, I'm going to go ahead and pull over some construction lines to start to give me some height information. I'm going to do the ground line, which is our 0 point, the height of that alcove, and then the roof height, as well as the chimney height. So I'm going to get all that information and bring that over to my true height line. There can be more than one true height line in a scene, but because we only have this one intersection point currently, that's our only one. So now where are we at? Now we're ready to draw our first face. So we're going to do that by, we know this corner is on the true height line, and we know the height of that corner. So it's from that point to that point, top and bottom, and we know it vanishes in the 2 directions. So let's go ahead and set that up. Right, so I have those 2 sets of vanishing points. Now we need to figure out where these rear edges are, where those faces terminate. So I do that by drawing a construction line between the station point and that edge. Both edges, both of the rear corners. And then where that construction line intersects with the picture plane, I'm going to drop down a vertical line into the scene. And that describes the rear corners. So now I can go ahead and draw that in on my object layer. Select both those curves and bring them forward. And now I've described the basic massing of this thing. Next, we're going to figure out the alcove. I'm going to zoom forward here. Figure out our alcove, and how we do the alcove is, again, we get that true height line. We project from this intersection to the vanishing point, and we get both edges of it through our plan information. So we're getting all of our all of the height information from the elevation and all of the vertical information from our plan. All right, now there's our opening. Now we need to find the depth of that opening and describe the inside faces of that opening. So we can start with this corner here. Right, so this face here is parallel with this face, so we know they vanish to the same vanishing point. And this rear face vanishes to the opposite vanishing point. So in this case, we need to project that into the scene. Or we can just move it along its own line. And I'm just going to ink some of this in so that I can see what I'm doing. I have this line here. As well as this line. I'm just going to move it over and then trim it. More than one way to do things around here. Okay, so that's our alcove. The last thing, and perhaps the trickiest item, is the chimney. And the reason the chimney is tricky is because none of its mass, none of its boxiness lives on the picture plane. Therefore, we don't have there's not a good sense of its true height. So the first thing we're going to do is project a point on that chimney forward. There we go. Whoops. Extend that out. And then if this chimney was projected all the way forward, this would be where it intersects that true height line. Now we can drop that down and intersect it with our true height here. So I'm going to fillet those two together. And then project that into the background to the vanishing point. You'll see what I'm doing here in a minute. Now I need to locate these 2 points. And we're almost there. So this is that rear face here. And now we just need to find the adjacent face, and we can do the same thing. Great. Right, there we have it. Our little abode. So you can see that even for a really simple object, it takes a while to make a perspective drawing of it. And really you're invested heavily in that view at this point, right? Now you've sunk 20 minutes into this one view. You hate to realize that, oh, I wish I would have moved a little bit more over to the left, right? Because what does that mean? You've got to start all over, right? So I think you can now really appreciate the power of the camera in Rhino, in the Rhino 3D model, in order to like quickly find a scene, capture it and capture it. But we really need you to be very precise in your movement of the camera and to know whether you have a 1, 2, or 3 point perspective drawing, and how to identify each of those characteristics. All right, I think that was, yeah, because you can imagine if we could construct the scenes of the gallery, of the Philip Johnson gallery. We could construct all those perspectives. We have all of the information we need, but it would take us hours to do what the computer can do in seconds. So I'll leave you on that.